With Win or Lose wrapping up on Disney Plus recently, I'm making this video to point out something that I've been wanting to bring up since episode 1. And it's something that I just wasn't even gonna bother to mention because people will usually call you crazy when you point out stuff like this. But Pixar recently came out with this documentary where they actually confirmed that my thoughts were 100% spot on about what they were trying to portray with a particular character in this show. And after seeing this, I'm like, I have to go make a video. If you could please leave a comment after watching this, I really want to hear your thoughts on what I'm about to say. This all has to do with Lori's weird sweat blob pet thing. If you haven't seen this show yet and you're even remotely interested, please go watch it. I promise you'll enjoy it. This is easily some of the best Pixar content we've gotten in years. Now that it's complete, I can say that this was an amazing show all the way through. I thought the finale did an amazing job concluding everyone's storylines. And funny enough, it proved my last video even more to show how much they borrowed from Turning Red for this show. Considering we've been waiting for this show since 2020, it was 100% worth the wait. Anyway, I want to get back to this sweat blob character and what Lori's entire episode is about. If you've seen my channel before, you would know that I'm someone who's very interested in deciphering the hidden religious messages in movies. I even have a whole theology channel that I do on the side. So this is kind of my thing. These Hollywood movies are trying to subtly influence you to accept occultism as a good thing without you even realizing it. This has been something that Pixar has been notorious for doing in the past. I love Pixar as a movie studio, I really do. They're easily my favorite movie studio, but I'm not blind to see the agendas that they push in their movies. To give some examples, Elemental is an entire movie about the 4 elements of witchcraft. Coco promotes ancient Aztec traditions and communication with the dead. And don't even get me started on Turning Red, which is a movie about a girl learning to live with a demon inside of her, while the movie tries to tell you that it's a good thing and we should learn to live with the evil side of ourselves. Of course, it almost always goes right over the viewers' heads, and the masses are ignorant to what they're being influenced by. But as much as you might like to dismiss this as coincidence, what I'm about to explain will go to show that this is absolutely no coincidence. It's very intentional, and Pixar themselves admitted to it. The film industry hates the Bible and makes it their mission to war against it. So when I went into Win or Lose, I was extremely shocked to see the way that they decided to open the first episode. We begin with Lori saying a prayer to God. And to most people, this might not seem like a big deal, but for this to even be included in a mainstream Disney Plus show is very out of the ordinary, especially considering the drama around this show in particular. If you didn't hear about the controversy that took place during the production of this show, much of Kai's storyline was cut to avoid backlash. And I don't really feel like going into detail about it, but let's just say that they planned on promoting some very ungodly ideas. But thankfully it was cut and they let the show maintain its innocence. At first glance, this prayer scene appears to go against everything that Pixar has been telling us up to this point. But I was skeptical because I don't believe that Pixar would really promote biblical values. And it turns out that this isn't what it seems. And you can disagree, but by the time I finished watching this, I still felt that this episode was pushing an anti-God message. This agenda should be clear to anyone with spiritual awareness, but like I said, I wasn't going to bring this up just because I knew that I would be called crazy for mentioning it. That was until Pixar came out with their behind-the-scenes documentary where they confirmed exactly what I was thinking and more. They admitted that her sweat blob character is in fact a demon, and that the message of this episode involved Lori overcoming it through the power of the Holy Spirit.
And we came up with the idea that Lori's challenge is between faith and doubt. So we used faith as like the Holy Spirit as a metaphor, and doubt would have been the snake. And so if you look in the final form of the blob monster, it's actually this coiled up around her like a giant snake.
They openly admitted to the religious significance behind this episode. This isn't something I'm making up, this is something that Pixar said. But like I said, I'm not convinced that this is the positive message that it first appears to be, and I'm gonna explain why. The fact that they actually came out and openly admitted the agenda they're pushing on you is crazy to me, because they normally won't ever say it. And like I said, this is not promoting the Holy Spirit, and here's why I'm not convinced. When Lori comes home from the game, we're introduced briefly to her mom. And you may not have picked up on this, but she's actually using tarot cards, which if you don't know is a card game used to summon spirits. I wouldn't think much of this if it wasn't for the sweat blob character, which is the main point of this video. This sweat blob, as Pixar admitted, is an unclean spirit or demon, a physical manifestation of her anxiety. and it only makes sense that this demon was invited in because of her mom's involvement in the occult. Now here's something I find super interesting. There's actually another scene later on in the episode where she says another prayer. This time though, you'll notice that they place a lot of emphasis on this star shape above her bed. You probably think this doesn't seem significant, but the star shape is actually called the pentagram, and it's the primary symbol associated with Satanism. It has nothing to do with actual stars. This is who she's praying to, not the God of the Bible. So let's take a look at what the end takeaway of this episode is. You may think that the Holy Spirit won over in the end, as it does seem that she defeated the anxiety through faith, but then I question that because of what happens at the end. Laurie ultimately gets knocked out and loses the game, so I feel like there's a lot of mixed messaging going on with this. But either way, I made this video because I feel that it's important to just be aware of this. People are always being influenced into accepting esoteric philosophy from the movies they watch, and most people have no idea. If you can view this episode from a positive lens of being promotion of the Holy Spirit, I can respect that. But whatever it is that you take away from this episode, I think it's important to see the intention of the filmmakers and how they're trying to influence the viewer. I genuinely want to know your thoughts on this in the comments, but anyway, thanks for watching and bye.